To all my Samsung nights out there, Samsung users, just plain love Samsung. I've been wanting to do this video for a while now, and for a lifelong user of Samsung products, for some reason, let's just X out, refrigerators, microwaves, stoves, just X those out, right? We're just talking about phones, right? Phones, laptops, buds, smartwatches. Let's just stay in that realm, right? So, for a good amount of time, Samsung, on par with, like with LG, and that was, as far as like innovation. And for some reason, just say in the last 6 years, Samsung has came to like a stalemate. Like they came to this, they came to a halt. Other than like the foldable tech, I believe Samsung was the first one, to introduce that whole photo. They may not have put it out but Samsung was the one that was pioneering, as far as, foldable tech, foldable phones, things of that nature. They may have been the first one to drop it. I think it was the Royal phone or something like that. But they led that charge. It was Samsung. Let's just stick to let's stay on the innovation side, right? Samsung, for the most part, that's the reason what made me fall in love with them, was I didn't see many of, with the techie side, it wasn't gimmicks to me. So let's just say like the object eraser, right? Samsung did that first. And then all of a sudden, they got rid of it. Samsung had on their camera setup where, the different modes, where it's like action mode, beauty mode, this and that. It was all these different modes that you could switch from. If you remember, for all my Samsung nights out there, if you remember correct, I mean, this was around the time like the Note 1, like Note 2, Note 3, the S4, S3 or whatever. They had these modes on there, right? Remember the commercial with the guy jumping in the pool where they was at this little party, and the guy was jumping. He's like, "Oh, I need to erase that, get out." And it's still pretty much, it's not on point like you would think it would be after all these years. And then Google reintroduced it, and they was like, as far as when it came to Android 16 or 7, what is it, 15 or so, when they came back with it. And then of course Samsung was like, okay, let's throw the object eraser back in there. All right, cool. My biggest pet peeve with them is that department, is the innovation. I say we're going to stay right here. It's because other than foldable tech, let's just say, well, you know what? I'm not even going to say pet peeve. Phones have plateaued. Let's just be real about it, people. The candy bar phone, whatever. That's why foldables are being pushed so hard as far as, by Samsung. Then you got Huawei, Oppo, Vivo, all these other, the Chinese brands. If I remember correctly, there was a story that came out about a guy who switched up from Samsung, who went over to Huawei, and then, pretty much had some stolen ideas and went to them. And then, boom, Huawei comes out, with night mode. Because they were the first ones to introduce night mode to the camera setup, the whole night mode thing to photos, if I remember correctly. And since phones have plateaued, it's just been in the camera department. It's the race to who has the better pictures, dynamic range, all of these things, night photos, video, and everything. So let's stick on video, right? Samsung, outside of any other brand, is the biggest, is pretty much, when it comes to America, because I'm speaking from, the American side, is the biggest brand that's across the water over here. And it's been that way for a long time. Well, other than LG went, their phone department or whatever kind of went south. And it was kind of like, guess people were like, well, shit, only I can do, is only, Samsung, Apple, Google. And then if you want a Vivo and Oppo and all those other brands or whatever, of course, you're going to have to order it from over there and then have it shipped. And this and that. Pretty much, they're not sitting in stores. They're not sitting, from what I see or whatever. They're not being offered. So if I go into AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, whatever, it's Samsung, some other little phone, and then it's just like Apple or Google. There's a reason. I come up to this conclusion. There's a reason why Samsung has fell back from innovation. And kind of was just like, other than the foldable tech, which I enjoy, which I am recording from right now, a Galaxy Fold 7, which I do enjoy. I like this. I really like this phone. They kind of took a step back because they seen that Apple would just stick to certain things or whatever, but they didn't realize is that Apple has their customers tracked. Unlike Android, Apple, there's no other thing outside of iOS for them to use. So there isn't another brand like Apple where they're like, damn, I can switch to this phone and still carry everything over. Understandable, right? Okay, cool. So they stick to it. So the emojis, what is it, Animojis or whatever, Memojis, whatever they call them, they're pretty much on point. The security with the face unlock, everything, they do them very well. I like the fingerprint, but unfortunately, for some out there, there's a flaw with that. Whereas if, something on my finger or whatever, I can't unlock my phone, I gotta wipe my fingers off, blah, blah, blah. I go to sleep, people that are very, nosy and very intrusive, I fall asleep or whatever, and then they, take your hand and put it on your phone to unlock your phone. So what ends up happening is the person ends up having to go back to, pin unlock or whatever, or code, whatever the case may be, number lock or password, whatever. Which to me, honestly, when I went back to it, it wasn't a problem. But where I'm getting at when it comes to, I'll get back as far as when it comes to the innovation part, Samsung sees what Apple is doing, taking the chargers out of the box, the brick out the box, and everything. And they feel like if we can still make one, we don't have to give them all of that, which I don't like. I never liked that. Talking about save the world and all this other BS or whatever. Come on now. Come on, Samsung. You're talking about a lifelong user. I've been using Samsung since the Blackjack. That's where it started for me, the Blackjack. And I've been with Samsung ever since. So that was like, 07? And I've had nothing but Samsung phones. Well, I did have an HTC, and I believe an LG, but they weren't I think it was like the HTC Sense and like the LG, I forget, it was the one that curved. It was that one. I had that phone. It was like that curve. I don't know what the hell they was thinking with that. But ever since that, so I've been using it for a long time. And what I came up with was this. Samsung came to this conclusion of, if we're going to be able to compete with these American brands, because that's where it all falls back to, people. Understand this, outside of like China or whatever, it's kind of with these other countries, especially, Samsung being in South Korea, they need the American, the consumer base. They need the American. If we in America say, we ain't dealing with Sam, we only dealing with American problem, which is Google and Apple, they will fold when it comes to that. Now, Samsung is much bigger when it comes, you talk about a tech giant, a company that focuses on all other things besides just phones and tablets. That's the reason. It's just that their cell phone department has always been, has been rock. I mean, they've been going for a long time. They've been able to sustain, as far as the times. They've been able to, wade the waters. I feel as though when they compete with Apple and Google, and by Samsung being on Android, they have to play ball with them. Meaning that, let's just say the video department in the camera. Remember for a long time, Apple was the leader as far as when it came to photos. And then all of the sudden, everybody else started, beating them. Haven't y'all really noticed? Like, it's a trade-off every other year. When these tech reviewers, right? And most of them I don't believe anyway, because, they're biased, and of course they get sent the phones, and especially it depends on how big they are. If you got a tech reviewer that got millions of subscribers or whatever and stuff, a lot of things you can't believe what comes out of their mouth, because they'll tweak it to whatever way they want it, or whatever, as far as when they're reviewing a phone, and who's ever, putting the most money in their pocket. So let's just say video capabilities, right? With all the technology out there and everything, all these years, don't you think Samsung would have been right there with Apple, or even better, when it comes to video capability, video quality? And they still kind of lag slightly behind. You got to play ball with these other companies, especially these American companies, because guess what? It's either that, or we'll do to you what was done to Huawei. Once Huawei started coming, it was like, oh no, we can't have this. O-band, China's being intrusive. They're trying to get our information, blah blah blah. In which, let's be honest, people. We're in the information age. It is so easy for people to get your information off of these phones. You got so many wannabe hackers all over the place, where if they want to get your information, they will get it. And now, out of all these years, out of these last, say, 4 or 5 years, the one thing that Samsung implemented on their phones that I love, that they should have been like that, where I thought Samsung Knox was doing this thing or whatever, but honestly it really wasn't, was the auto blocker. Auto blocker is huge, or whatever, especially if a person can't get into your phone or whatever. You got to kind of lock down to where they can't get in there or whatever. They can't, get into your settings and mess with things. Auto blocking negates all that, and let me just plug your phone up and try to, put viruses or steal information, steal information or whatever. Sorry about that. You got somebody on a damn motorcycle or whatever that want to take off and do 120 miles an hour and then turn around and then, I don't know, whatever. But auto blocker was the biggest thing that I love what Samsung has did in the last couple years. I'm going to just be real with you. Me personally, the cameras on most of these phones nowadays, down to the mid-range phones, are all serviceable. You can tweak them however you want. You got Pro mode, Expert, Raw, Log mode. I don't really care too much about it, like, for real, to be honest. I don't. Because that's all it is, a race to have who has the better camera. Not too many things are being done within the phone, so that's why I get back to the whole thing with innovation. Okay, what do you expect? What do you want them to do differently? What would you like Samsung to do differently? Or Apple or Google? Because as long as Samsung is under the thumb of Google on Android, it's not really too much they're going to do, because they came to an agreement. If you all haven't if you haven't noticed by now, that's why they kind of, let's not do this or whatever, try to outshow them, outdo them, because I can guarantee you they could. But to be honest, they're like this: if we put all this on the phone, whatever, is it going to get more sales? And like I said, when it comes to Android, there's so many other options that people can be like, I just switch to Vivo, I just switch to Oppo. red mat, whatever. I just switch to another phone on Android. Yeah, I might have to pay for it outright and have it shipped over, but I still can get Android on it. And that's what kind of knocked Huawei out the box, because they were doing things and they was like, hold on, who do y'all think y'all are? Okay, you can stay big in China, but you're not coming over to America with that mess. And I'm just saying, it's obviously it's known. So with me, how I feel with Samsung is that I'm always going to get Samsung products, phones, always. Because they still do a damn good job, especially with the screen display. And like I said, with auto blocker, all the other things, the things that people call gimmicks, that's another thing. You called it a gimmick, and then when they took it away, it was like, hold on, where is it at? It's gone now. I'm even having problems with the Galaxy Store now to purchase things, or you know how you can do your thing. That's one thing about with Android that I love the most, especially with Samsung with One UI, and before that, I forget what it was called. It was the customization. That's what I like the most. Customization of the phone. This phone, I want this phone to look like this is my phone. If I want to have a bunch of apps with no names upon them, but I know what that app is with blank circles, and I know this circle says 2 or 1 or whatever, then it's just my phone. That's what I like. That's what I love about it the most, customization. It is, it's open source. And they give you the option to lock down your phone or not lock down your phone. Download from unknown sources or not download from unknown sources. Block them. There are so many things to these phones, man. It's just, you think that they're not listening, but they are listening when they say, hey, all right, so people saying there's gimmicks and things of that nature, all right, then take it away. So like I said with the object eraser, they took it away. What was another thing? The IR blaster. They should have kept that on the phone, but I guess, I don't know. But they took it away. Who cares about you changing the TV from your phone and all this, changing the TV? That was big. I wish they would have kept that. But they took it away. People don't take advantage of what they do have with the phone as far as with multitasking, especially with a phone like this. Oh, I love it. I'll bring up 2 different damn apps or whatever, or say like you're doing like passwords or something like that on one thing, and then you got to open the, man, I use the hell out of that multitasking. I love it. Don't ever let somebody sit there and tell you, that's stupid. It's only because they don't have it. That's it. The same thing with the folding phones, right? I guarantee you, once Apple does it, right? Once Apple does it, they're going to be like, that Apple is testing the shit out of it right now in the lab somewhere. Because they know that's going to take over the regular iPhone. All of them going to want to have a flip or a fold. They're going to be like, man, oh my God. This is so neat. Yeah, things we didn't have for years on the Android side. So for them to play ball in this, in this arena and stay relevant as far as on the state side, as far as in the United States, Canada, or wherever, they have to, make deals. Be like, okay, yeah, guess what? Samsung does make the screens for Apple. So sometime or some year, Apple screen might be brighter, might have more clarity than a Samsung phone. But it's all a game that they play. They sit back and watch us fight, slander each other online, and they laugh. Like, look at these fools. Look at them. They sitting up there crying and complaining. Talking about, well, this, and that. I'll be looking at them comments. Years ago, I used to get in, but now it's like, nah, I'm not about to get no argument about no damn phone. Or why this and that, or this is stupid. I might sit there and joke with somebody, but it's pointless. Come on now. That's what they want. But when you have other phones that can do this and do that, sometimes we sit back and wonder, like, damn, why are they doing that? Gotta be a reason. And like I said, if they feel that, me doing this is going to step out and step on some toes or whatever, sometimes these companies back off. They back off. All of a sudden, they chipset. Why can't Samsung, being one of the largest tech companies out there with the Exynos, be top of the line? You want to know why? Because these other brands like Qualcomm, I just say Qualcomm, right? They're in bed with them. And they're like, hey, you buy chipsets or whatever, and, we'll give it to you at the whole wholesale thing. We give it to y'all at a cheap rate. Buy from us. And we have pretty good damn chips. So why even make the effort as far as our chipsets? Sometimes. Apple keeps everything in-house. Other than, certain things that they outsource or whatever. But of course, they're like, okay, what's the screen? All we got to do is tweak it to how we want it and then buy. Well, of course, we'll buy the screens from them, the screen layout, and do it that way. So those are just some of my thoughts as far as when it comes to Samsung. I wish in the future, my thing is it's all about the bells and whistles. What's inside the phone? What can I do? But honestly, if you know how to root your phone, and which you really don't have to with an Android, but if you root it, things like, there's so many possibilities. It's just that, some of us don't really feel like doing all that crap. Why should I have to do this or whatever to enjoy this phone and have fun with it? Especially something that you keep on your person all the time and everything. And another, y'all keep talking about, well, it doesn't work well on Instagram and why the pictures and this and that. There's a reason for that. With these developers, for some reason, after all these years, I guess it's just difficult to kind of, the algorithms and everything for all these different brands to make it better for your favorite social media website. It's easier for Apple. Apple always gets they get the nod. I don't know. So you make the decision. You want to stick with your brand or go somewhere else or whatever. But those are just my thoughts as far as when it comes to Samsung.